welcome to Ignite News. I'm Megan Adams.
And I'm Christina Costable. I caught up with some of the organizers of the Pan Am Games. Check it out. The Pan Am Games are coming to Hamilton in July, and preparation has already begun.
So really we have three signature sites: Gage Park, downtown Hamilton, and the waterfront. Gage Park will include a multicultural festival the first weekend, which is July 9 through 12, and a junior soccer tournament for youth. And then the following weekend is the World Music Festival, 17, 18, and 19 in Gage Park.
Hamilton is a perfect venue for these games.
Being proximity here, having the soccer at our CIBC Hamilton Pan Am Soccer Stadium is ideal, and we're in a great footprint, being from Toronto, people traveling through to Niagara. They may want to visit the falls or stay here in Hamilton.
Planning has also begun to make traveling downtown easier.
We are working closely with what we call our ops team, which the police department are involved with, the security. We have Public Works and Alan Kirkpatrick heading up our transportation, which includes shuttle service and making sure the Games Route network works extremely well.
It's an important time for Hamilton to come together to celebrate the Pan Am Games.
I want to see the city embrace the games, be excited, have a lot of fun. Very similar to the Olympic Games when we won the gold medal. It'd be great to see a great gold medal final, sold-out stadium, and just see the city rock and have a great time and celebrate the Pan American Games.
Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Christina Costable.
On this lonely crossroad lies a missing piece of Canadian history. The Fort Erie-colored cemetery is the resting place for some of the earliest black settlers in Ontario. But if it wasn't for the rumor of a ghost, this place would have probably been forgotten. Today it's a different type of spirit that preserves the memory of these refugee slaves. Wilma Morrison has spent her entire adult life telling their story.
People, the understanding is if you were a slave, you were dumb. So in many instances, people, once they were able to get here to freedom, they didn't talk about it. And so the stories have been lost in many instances. Most Canadians don't, and it's not in the history for the most part. And so it's been a difficult story to put together until lately. I want a Canadian history taught, a history that talks about, I even go to the museums and talk to them about having representation of the many people who helped to build this country.
February is Black History Month. This designation serves to remind us of the contributions made from a group of people that helped define part of the Canadian identity. And through the work of historians like Wilma Morrison, museums and libraries throughout Canada now house books and photo collections that chronicle the life of these brave individuals. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Jimmy Goldenberg.
When you normally think of the word library, you usually think of books. It's not too often you think of tools. This is all changing now, thanks to the opening of the Hamilton Tool Library. The Hamilton Tool Library allows residents of Hamilton to rent out any tools available in the library for as long as they need. A membership costs a low $50 a year, and for every membership that is created, the library will give away a free membership to somebody in need. Halden Sproul, the owner of the Hamilton Tool Library, says that after only 2 weeks of being open, the library has been a huge success.
It's been fantastic. We've had about 140 memberships sold so far. We've got about 200 tools rented out at the moment, so people are getting tons of use out of the place.
Tools from the library are all donations from Hamiltonians. Although the shelves are currently piled with tools, the library is always encouraging people to donate whatever tools they no longer use. John Dealstra is a construction engineering technician at Mohawk College. He believes the idea of the tool library will help Mohawk students in his program.
A great opportunity for my students to go out and once they graduate, borrow and use equipment that they've gained experience on in this shop and go and use that equipment in the community, make their mark as a business owner before they have the capital to actually go out and buy that equipment for themselves.
So whether it be an old screwdriver or an entire toolbox, donate your tools today as they may be useful to someone else. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Blake Mancini.
Fitbit is a new way of training. Josh Stewart has a review.
Fitbits are the newest in a long line of wearable fitness technology, but does it actually work? personal trainer Mark Felice says yes, and uses the Fitbit to help train his clients.
Oh, absolutely. For one, when I see my clients, I only see them 2-3 hours a week. I don't see them for the other 141 hours of the week. So if I give them something like a Fitbit, it can actually write down their activity, and then they can show it to me.
But physiotherapist Claudio Medino says learning about how your body works should always
just
come
try
first.
to understand their body first before you pick a device or a machine, okay? Like a devices, machines, even exercise, they're all tools, okay? And they're all gonna work if the body work in the right way.
According to Felice, it goes beyond just keeping track.
Someone who lacks motivation, I would definitely get that. I mean, even I have a few cases where husband and wife are training together, they get the Fitbit and they like to compare their activity to each other, right? So that's going to motivate them to accomplish their goals.
If you're thinking about picking a Fitbit up, they range in price from $60 up to $300. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Josh Stewart.
Ignite News went to the Brain to have some craft beers.
Reporter John Tonin has more.
Hello everybody, I'm John Tonin and I'm here at the Brain with Dan. And Dan and I are going to talk craft brews today.
S'more stout, so it's brewed with roasted marshmallows.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a try. It's not bad. You can taste the marshmallow in it. I don't know how many of those you could drink, like consecutively.
And that's the thing with craft beer, I think, is that you're not supposed to be coming in here and drinking 6 pints of s'more stout.
Yeah. Got anything closer to home?
Yes, cider that we always have on tap from West Avenue, which is a Toronto company, but now it's moved to Hamilton, just over on Centennial Parkway. Cider is really popular these days.
So let's give it a try. It does look like apple juice. It's got a wine taste to it.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
It's very winey.
It's just the fermentation of fruit, right? It's like grapes with wine, so it's gonna have that same kind of flavor.
It's good. I wouldn't order this over the s'more stout, but it's tasty enough. All right, what are we trying next?
This is our most popular beer we have here. Probably one of the most popular craft brews in Canada.
Yeah, that's delicious. That is like, it's like summer on a patio, like drinking that beer. Like it's good for any occasion.
It's low
too.
percentage. It's only high 4% beer, so 4.9% beer. So it's easier to drink for sure.
It's a beer you can enjoy throughout your night out,
exactly.
right? The Brain is one of many bars offering craft beers on tap. Look for them at your local bar. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm John Tonin.
Hey Megan, did you hear that the Juno Awards are happening on March 15th?
Yeah, our reporter Nick Hynap has the story.
The 2015 Juno Awards are just around the corner, and this past Tuesday at the Danforth Music Hall, the nominations were announced in front of a slew of media and artists. This year's event is particularly important for Hamilton, as it's been 14 years since they last hosted the awards. Since then, there has been considerable change in the city. Once the house filled, Hamilton beatboxer and multi-instrumentalist Hatchie the Mouthpiece performed a short set. For him, his appearance at the nomination ceremony could help pave the way for artists in his genre at the awards.
And not just me alone. There's a lot of other beatboxers in Canada. They're all trying to help out and try to bring more awareness to what the art form is.
Leading Hamilton's nominations are the local favorites Arkells with 2, Group of the Year and Rock Album of the Year. They were also announced as performers for the Juno Awards themselves, and they performed a surprise song after that announcement. Local blues musician Steve Strongman, who won a Juno Award last year and is nominated again this year, thinks that the events are going to be great for the city of Hamilton.
I think absolutely. I think this is it's a reason for everybody in Hamilton to celebrate, to have our our national awards come there. It's going to be really, really great.
The Juno Awards take place on March 15th as part of Juno Week. For Ignite News, I'm Nick Hynap.
After just 2 years in Canada, Target is leaving.
Reporter Tanya Guerra has more.
After less than 2 years of being in Canada, Target has announced they are closing all of their stores and discontinuing their Canadian operations. The announcement appeared sudden to employees, and many have questions that remain unanswered.
Well, the first day I got to work when it all first happened, they didn't tell us anything because they didn't know anything. They said whatever like you've heard on the media, that's all that we know so far. So we were really in the dark as well. We still are. Like we still don't know like when liquidation starts or whatever, or when we're actually closing. We just know that once they let us go, you get your severance. That's it.
Ultimately, I'm going to be there. I don't know. They could tell me next week I'm gone, or I could stay all the way till May. I'm not really all that sure. I'm just standing out on cash right now in a store that's like always dead. So.
Marvin Ryder from the McMaster DeGroote School of Business explains why he thinks the company failed in Canada.
I haven't counted the list, but I can think of at least 4 causes right off the bat. The first one was that they tried to open a lot of stores in a very short period of time. For some reason, Target decided to go big all at once, 133 in a 12-month period. You're just opening yourself for potential problems. The second one is tied to this. Because they were going to do 133 at once, they announced to the world that they were coming to Canada. So in essence, they gave their competitors 2 years warning. We're going to be a big rock in the pond, but you've got 2 years to build your defenses. So Canadian Tire, Walmart, Sears, they all began to fight against that. The third thing was that while Target came to Canada, it had no online presence in Canada. There was no Target.ca like there is Sears.ca. Why is that important? Take the Christmas season in Canada, 35% of Canadians did their shopping online. If you don't have an online version of your store in parallel, you're giving away that part of the market to your competitors. It's just incredible. And then I think the last thing, and this may have been the biggest of all, is something we call competitive advantage in business. Competitive advantage says to a consumer, here is why you should stop shopping there and start shopping here. So for instance, a restaurant might say, oh, our cuisine, no one else offers these flavors or these choices. And with Target, when you ask people, what's the competitive advantage, they struggled. Now, there is a competitive advantage in the United States, and this is a confusing term called value. Value means that consumers perceive a bundle of benefits from your goods, but at a price point. So if I can get the same bundle of goods, but at a little better price point, I'm getting more value. And in the United States, Target is seen as having great value, very fashionable merchandise at great prices. When they came to Canada, they left that value proposition south of the border. And it really appears that they came to Canada and said something to the effect, well, we're here. We're one of the biggest retailers in the United States, Canada, so come worship us because we've given you our presence. And the reality is Canadians came, they looked, and they said, we don't see the same value. We've shopped at your stores in the United States. I think they do. I still will shop at your stores in the United States. But you're not giving me the same value north of the border.
When Target came to Canada, they took over Zellers' locations. So what is to become of these soon-to-be empty stores now?
A Canadian Tire might choose 10 of the locations, and yes, Walmart take over 10, but there's no single company that's going to say, I want all 133 of these. So if you're a landlord, you own these buildings, you're calling everyone frantically, and yes, there'll be some new Dollaramas, and yes, there will be employment, but my best guess is by the end of 2015, at least half of those stores will still be dark, and they might, some of them, still be dark by Christmas 2016. This is how big this changes to the economy.
At the moment, Target is still a living, breathing company in Canada. Over the next 3 to 4 months, however, there will be a liquidation sale where the inventory will be sold off and the cash made will be given to creditors. Over 17,000 Canadians will have lost their job, and Target will no longer have a Canadian presence. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Tanya Guerra.
KX 94.7, Country 92.9, Country 104, and soon Country 89. These country brands have all launched in the last few years in Southern Ontario. KX 94.7 Program Director Bill Toffin explains that the evolution in country music has played a major role in country radio's prosperity.
The country format has morphed, and I mean, there's still the stars like the Shania Twains and the Garth Brooks. They're still around. But the dynamic of it has really changed. It's broadened, and I think it's obviously for the better. And you'll get compilations now with guys like Florida Georgia Line, Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, Blake Shelton, who also goes on The Voice, and country is very popular on those TV shows.
According to Toffin, country radio has proven successful with both young and older demographics.
It's a real nice cross now that complements a lot of demographics. We're talking from kids, from 12 to 14-year-olds, right up to seniors in their 50s and 60s. So there's a nice wide spread demographic. It's a family, fun, and a friendly format.
According to the latest Numeris ratings, KX 94.7 had a 6.9% market share, second only to 102.9 K-Lite, who had a 9.6% market share. Toffin explains that KX's success was unexpected.
I was surprised at how well the format's taken off, and we've been here, it'll be 4 years in August. And number 2 is a good place to be in here in Hamilton. And in actuality, in many of the demographics, we're actually number 1. So we've come a long way in a very short period of time, and the demographic doesn't show any signs of slowing down, or the genre. So things are going good. Country is where it's at right now.
Toffin also hosts the CCMA winning morning show, Toffin Melissa. The show can be heard weekday mornings from 5:30 to 9 on KX 94.7. For Ignite News, I'm Kareem Mosnow.
If you're looking to be healthier, Mohawk is a new wellness club.
Shannon Brownlee has the story.
Wellness Club Keeping Healthy with Mohawk wants students to become more aware of their numbers and how important they actually are. They are in fact the first ever wellness club at Mohawk and aim to make the school a little healthier. They will be running the Know Your Numbers event at the end of each month around the school, and all information is confidential. Ben Paul, a second-year health, wellness, and fitness student, talks about the importance of knowing your numbers.
I think that the biggest number to know, I believe, would be your heart rate and your blood pressure, because that determines how your cardiovascular system is operating. So say if you have a high blood pressure, we as professionals can recommend you to see your medical doctor. Say you haven't got a physical for a while and all that stuff, and you don't know, maybe the last time you had a checkup your blood pressure was fine, like a normal rate, and then now it's elevated. So you're drinking a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee, and you don't know, like a lot of it is just lack of awareness. What we're calculating is heart rate, blood pressure, BMI, which is the body mass index, BIA, and grip strength. The grip strength is just it's an assessment. It's like a fitness assessment, but it's the only one that we have access to right now. But in the near future, we are going to have more testing.
For more information about keeping healthy with Mohawk, you can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Shannon Brownlee.
Game reviewer Steven Sobat has the latest on the Grim Fandango remake.
Grim Fandango is a point-and-click adventure game developed by LucasArts. You play as Manuel Calavera, a soul who works at the Department of Death, selling travel options to the recent dead to work off whatever bad thing he did when he was alive. He constantly gets poor clients and thinks he's getting shafted by his boss. Only when he begins to take matters into his own hands does he discover the underworld isn't everything as it seems. The game is a story-driven experience where you travel around the world attempting to progress the plot through certain set pieces. Sometimes you have to find a certain object and give it to someone. Other times you have to make the right conversation choices.
Mean to animals?
Oh no, I love animals. Once, when I was volunteering at an animal shelter,
Just stop right there.
Either way, the gameplay itself is secondary to the story. Initially, you're just trying to get yourself a good client. You are given a memo telling you a mass poisoning has occurred, and there are hundreds of dead people who need travel agents. However, because you take too long to get to the poisoning, you get a bad client while your rival gets a great one. Mind you, he did sabotage your chances of getting a good client though. If you're a fan of the original game, you're probably asking, what's new in this remake? Grim Fandango Remastered isn't much more different from the original game visually. While the graphics have been improved, the game was already stylized in such a way that making it any better looking would take away from the experience. Manuel's movement is also improved. You can choose between the old tank-style controls, where pressing left and right slowly turn you left or right, or the new controls, where you go in whatever direction you're pressing. But probably the biggest improvement is the addition of a cursor. In the original, you had buttons which inspected, interacted, or picked up nearby objects. In this version, you can hover over set piece and interact with it. It makes it much easier for players who haven't played through the game hundreds of times to find out what you can work with and what you can't. But besides that, the gameplay and story are identical. Same characters, same voice actors and cutscenes, same items scattered around the city. I have never played adventure games as a kid. Like many of my generation, we were raised on a quick-paced, easy reward game system. We never really grew up on a slow and subtle pace PC adventure games had. So I had trouble playing this game. For a while I was getting it. Sure, climbing up an unexplained chain of ties to the roof of your 30-story building doesn't make sense, but as long as the story progresses, who really cares? The first thing that stumped me was when I had to intercept my rival, Domino's, mail tube. First, you have to sabotage the mail system so the mechanic opens up the locked area where Domino's mail goes through. There is a short cutscene where the mechanic pulls out a thin metal plate out from his tube after he's done repairing it, so that tells me I have to find something to replace that. I searched all over and couldn't find anything. I finally submitted myself to the internet, only to figure out that I had to pick up a seemingly useless pack of cards, punch a hole through one of them, and then put that card in the slot to block one of Domino's incoming mail packages. Call me lazy or uncreative, but I feel like it's a little convoluted. I know some of you will tell me, you and your generation are so impatient and stupid, you couldn't figure out anything unless you had an arrow pointing you the way. No, that's fair, imaginary person. We are too impatient. But we aren't psychic. How am I supposed to know to scour Domino's office for an odd piece of coral, attach it to the other end of the tie chain, use it like a grappling hook to get to the roof, and place the cat balloon inside a bowl while also crumbling a baguette into it to attract a flock of dead birds to the bowl, but also scare them off? Again, I feel like that's a little convoluted. And to top it all off, I initially put the baguette in the bowl, only to have it eaten by the birds. Then realizing that I should have used the cat balloon to scare them off, I took it out, and the game froze. I stopped playing then, not only because I haven't saved for a while, but because I can probably experience all I need from the game by watching someone's YouTube compilation of all the cutscenes. Yes, that's lazy. Yes, that's uncreative. But playing a game where the main interaction is figuring out which object to rub against another doesn't sound like my cup of tea. But for what it's worth, the characters seem lovable, and the story definitely is both creative and interesting.
Your driver said that Mr. Hurley said that he could have the rest of the day off.
Domino sent my driver home?
Yeah, wasn't that nice?
So, if you were a fan of the game or played it as a child, this is probably the best version of the game you can get. However, if you're like me and never played the game before, you'd be better off saving your money and watching the unofficial YouTube movie. Grim Fandango Remastered is available on Steam for $17.
The Mountaineers men's varsity basketball team barely scraped by the Redeemer Royals with an 88-76 win. Forward Andrew Cicatini scored 19 points and had 14 rebounds. Forward Matt Fennell had 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 turnovers, while point guard Matt Savell had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. Head coach Brian Yonker says Taylor Dohanek played one of his best games of the season so far. Dohanek netted 13 points, had 11 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Oh, I thought Taylor Dohanek really competed for us tonight inside. If he wasn't blocking shots, he was altering shots. Defensively, he was great. And I thought tonight offensively, he really contributed, probably his best game of the season.
Dohanek found that the game against their crosstown rivals was extremely intense. The crowd was loud and the game had everyone on the edge of their seats.
Intensity was high, especially on the defensive side for both teams. It was low scoring in the very beginning. It took about a couple minutes to score for each team, but it was just a really tough, hard-fought game. It's like kind of a rivalry we have between each other.
The entire game was nearly point for point. The Mountaineers, as a team, struggled defensively. The men had difficulty getting open for shots throughout the game.
And we really needed it tonight because we struggled in some other areas offensively. So I thought Taylor was fantastic.
The Mountaineers' next game is on Saturday, February 7th at 3 p.m. in the D-Bark. Until then, the team will be working on stopping the ball, defensive strategies, and getting open for more shots offensively. For Ignite Sports, I'm Carlin McGill.
Mohawk brought their winning streak to 8 games last Saturday against the Fanshawe Falcons at the David Braley Athletic Center. Though the team had trouble closing their sets, Coach Matthew Schnarr is still proud of the win.
I feel good. I mean, that's a very well-prepared team in Fanshawe. Coach has them game planned, and they work their asses off. They're a great defensive team. Our finish and our end of sets is something we got to look at and figure out what's holding us back from having that killer instinct.
Captain Adam Sheedle says Fanshawe's defense got to them in the second set after Mohawk let a 10-point lead slip away.
We just fell apart as a team. We weren't staying together, and we just weren't siding the ball out properly. We let their defense get to us in the better hand of it, and they just had the better half. It was just us, I figured. It was all our errors and them just playing really good defense, and we let it get to us.
After the second set, Mohawk came out strong, winning the last 2 sets to take the game. The team feels that strong defense and mental toughness is something they'll continue to work on.
We've been training, doing drills like that, trying to finish games out and starting stronger, so I think we're going to keep focusing on that more and maybe focus a little bit more on our defensive side too.
We get it every night. We get their best, so we always have to have our backups. We play Conestoga on Tuesday, and right now they're at the bottom of the division, but that's a team that took Fanshawe 23-23. Winning against us would make anybody's season right now. So as long as we come ready to work, we'll be okay.
With the win, Mohawk remains on top of the Western Conference. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Ben Diamond.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be punched in the face? 22-year-old professional boxer Jesse Wilcox takes you inside the mind of a professional boxer.
It is intimidating. It is really, especially when you go in there with guys who you know are good. I've been on the world stage, and I know that they're the best in the world, and they can hit. You see them. Sometimes I see guys knock them out, and I'm like, that's the guy I got to fight tomorrow. And people are like, oh, he's good, and that's intimidating. But eventually, with all the experience, it gets to a point where it doesn't matter how good the guy is. You know what you do in the ring. You know what you do training, and you just have to rely on yourself, right? So that's why it's hard to miss a day of training and feel good about it. If I miss a day of training, it's frustrating because I know that guy's not missing a day of training. I know that guy who's the top in the world, where I eventually want to be, he trains on Christmas, he trains on New Year's, he trains every day, and you got to think like that.
Jesse's next fight is scheduled in the month of April. For Ignite News, I'm Wayne Dashko.
That's it for this week's edition of Ignite News. I'm Christina Costa.
And I'm Megan Adams. Thanks for watching.